There we are. Hello, everybody. We're live. Finally. Sorry for mucking about. That was technical error of the finger. That's what that was.
Indeed.
Oh dear. Yes, very sorry about that. I scheduled one for next week. I thought I'd get ahead of myself and scheduled one for next week. And there was me sitting waiting for Heather in the wrong blooming thing. So there we go. Sorry about that.
Wonderful.
Always late, but worth the wait. That's what they say, isn't it?
They do.
What have you got drinking today?
Today
I have mulled wine.
Newcastle Brown Ale.
A bit of brown. Oh, we all like a bit of brown. Oh dear. Yeah. So cheers.
Oh. Cheers.
What a pain. I'm all at 6s and 7s now.
Yeah, it's thrown us a bit, hasn't it? That.
Yeah.
But
sorry about that.
we're ready to go. We're all prepared, and we've got some people in the chat, which is lovely.
It's lovely. So who have we got? We've got Tina. Hello. And we've got Jewelry Sales. Hello. Who else have we got? No, I need my glasses on for that one.
Frankie's
Finds. Hello. Ooh, feeling a bit witchy. Come to get your fix. Well, you've come to the right space. That's what I reckon. Now, if I make that bigger, I might be able to see you without my specs. Barely see me, but that doesn't matter, does it? I can barely see Heather. She's a tiny, weeny dot.
Still here, you know.
A tiny, tiny dot.
That's all right.
Oh dear. How's your week been?
Busy, I would say. I'd kind of come to the realisation that so many people are struggling with lockdown, but the more I think about it, the more I realise the last 14 years of my life have actually kind of had this element about it, because I've not been, I mean, I am free to go places if I organise myself, but generally it's kind of like, get up, go and get parcels, pack parcels, post parcels, go and do shopping, put the washing on, and it's all very, a little mundane, shall we say.
Yeah.
The only thing that's different is I'm not cooking for a large bunch of people every now and again, and obviously it's a bit tricky seeing friends, but friends I see more of thanks to social media than I ever did.
Yeah, actually, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Thank God for technology, that's what I say. Because without it, I think everybody would be really struggling and would feel so isolated. But at least it gives you a bit of a break from the norm, doesn't it? So you can see your friends, even if you can't physically see them. At least you can have a chat and so on. That didn't be like 100 years ago when they had the Spanish flu. 100 years ago, must have been horrible.
Very
isolated. So isolating, and just purely being at home and not being able to do anything at all must have been miserable. So
we are more fortunate today. I know it can be. There are mental health issues for people who aren't able to make the connections, and perhaps people who not realised they needed the connections in quite the way they did. I think it's been quite an eye-opener in some ways. I mean, obviously in horrific ways too, but also in knowing a bit more about yourself and aspects of yourself you might not have seen until you're forced into a situation where you've got to reevaluate maybe and do things slightly differently.
Yeah. That's actually not much fun, is it? It's almost like doing shadow work, isn't it? It's evaluating what makes you tick and what you need, and realizing more about yourself, that you do need people more than you thought you did, or you're closer to your family than you thought you were, or you're not as close to your family as you thought you were.
Indeed.
In the same four walls. It's it has been quite an eye-opener, hasn't it? It's been really, really tough, I think, on most people's fronts. I'm lucky where I am here. I'm a bit of a loner anyway, and I just go pottering around doing my own thing, and at least I've been working all the way through lockdown, because obviously my job needs me to be out and about and at work.
And I've been working too, and I think that's the saving grace. Although I haven't been able to work in quite the same way, particularly during lockdown sort of 1.0, it kind of makes you more creative and resourceful. But for a lot of people, that is not the same. I'm very atypical, and I do appreciate that of being in a better position than some people. But it's horrific when you see what people have gone through.
But it does mean that for me, I've been just able to concentrate even more on doing my thing. You know, literally, I've just been able to get on with it without being bothered by anybody, and you know, just get on with it and enjoy the countryside where I live, and you know, rub my sticks down in the garden without anyone giving me a second look and things like that. So, oh, she's out there with her sticks again.
Yes, there is that. Potter on regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes. Have you had much of a witchy week? Because I haven't. I've had quite a worky week, but I did have the grandchildren at the weekend, which was really nice. And we did a few witchy bits and pieces, kind of yearly things rather than specifically witchy stuff, which has been quite nice. But there's been an awful lot of drawing witches and various grandchildren saying, "That's you, isn't it, Nana?" Like, yes.
Yes, it is.
I'm not quite that green, but yeah.
Depends what you do.
Out comes the green pen again. I spot the green pen and I know what's coming.
Yeah, I've not had an overly witchy weekend, but I have been sort of dabbling more in kitchen witchery because I kind of disconnected slightly from that. So I've kind of connected with that a bit. So that's been helpful. Yeah.
Actually, this is a really good comment here. No specs.
Nope.
Oh, out come the spectacles. So I can see what it is. This one here, look.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's a guilt thing, isn't it? It's what you're conditioned to believe.
Yeah.
You must be busy, you must be doing. And actually, I had a similar comment from a friend of mine today who I'd spoken to this morning, been through very tough times. And then she sort of said, I feel tired, but I haven't actually been doing anything. I said, but you're emotionally tired. Yeah. Who says you have to be busy 24/7? Who made that law? Because I didn't see it, clearly.
No, definitely. But you do, don't you? And it's even when you go out, should I be doing this? And when you come in, should I be doing this? And you're sitting still, should I be doing this? And how it's really, and you just question everything, don't you? It's very bizarre. Yeah, very bizarre.
And this time more than ever, you know, people are questioning everything. Luckily, Frankie did find a way out of it by giving us him or herself. I'm sorry, I can't see on the picture. They're a very good talking to, by the sound of things.
I give myself good talking to, but it's always in my mum's voice.
Funny that, isn't it? Certain voices, like critical voices or caring voices, will always be the earlier voices that you heard because they're the ones that have kind of gone right into your subconscious.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I do, and I took my mum passed 14 years ago. But you know, it's like, what do you think you're playing at, and things like that. I always tell her in her voice. Yeah, it's very bizarre. Yeah, very strange. Yeah. So we had a couple of questions last week. And I asked the people that asked the questions whether they minded if we discussed the answers on this week's program, really. And the first question that I had, I'm sorry, I can't remember the person that asked me, but it was about bullying. This poor lady is suffering from bullying from some horror at work. And she asked for some advice. She said, will witchcraft help with bullying? And I said, yes, absolutely. And it kind of depends on what methods this bully is using, whether it's verbal or physical or emotional. Sort of whether you tackle fire with fire and so on. But there are so many different ways to deal with it. So one of the things that I suggested in the interim was to use the freezer method. And so what I suggested was writing that person's name on a piece of paper and then folding it in on itself 3 times and then shoving it in the freezer to literally give them the cold shoulder, to freeze them over and stop them being a pain in the backside to them. And of course, that's a great interim measure, although I have to say there are a few people that have been in my freezer for some time.
Might have wanted to after
defrost it, isn't it? Who's that? Oh yeah.
But there's one that's still there and will stay there for some considerable time.
Yes, I've got a couple of people that will, they come out, I don't let them thaw out, and then I put them back again. I mean, I would just like to say, anyone coming in at this point in time, hello, and I don't have physical people in my freezer. I have names on pieces of paper in my freezer. That's what I'm referring to when I say people in the freezer.
Yeah, you can put the paper in the freezer as it's
not rap at the door in a minute, and it'll be a burly policeman coming.
What I tend to do also is put it in like a little bag of water, so it's actually sort of frozen within the water, and that goes in because then it doesn't get lost.
yeah, there is that. Yeah, you can do that too. Mind you, my freezer's that stuffed.
Yeah, you
can get a slice of bread in mine. Literally, one slice of bread would not go in one place. I'd have to break it up.
Yeah, well, I do have a little extra freezer space. Let's put it that way. I've got a big chest freezer down the shed, and that's where that stuff goes.
Yeah. Very useful, and I find that actually that works a treat. But you can kind of class that as a bit of a temporary fix. And yes, that person will leave you alone. That person will essentially just cool off towards you, and that's the whole point of it. But there's lots of other different things that you can do if you're being bullied as well. What would you suggest, Heather? Because obviously that's the thing that I suggested as a start-off point. What are your thoughts on it?
I sometimes think it's useful to write out exactly what's happening, to put it out on paper rather than have it running around in your head, because people tend to play over a scenario and it becomes very big and very loaded emotionally. So if you actually write down the facts of what's happened and make bullet points, the instances it's happened, that can help, not just on a very practical level, if you ever do have to go through a tribunal or something like that.
Yeah.
To actually see what may be a pattern behind it. There may be a time of the month when it happens. There may be a common time of year or something that goes on. So you're looking to identify what's behind it, because usually if somebody's bullying you, they're getting some kick out of it. There's something in it for them. So it's trying to work out what it is that they're getting out of it. Maybe there's a modification that you can make to your behaviour at those times that will just not give them the opportunity. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of exactly what's happening here, and sometimes it can just feel too overwhelming but to stand back a little from it and do it in a quiet space of mind when you're not feeling upset or overwhelmed by it, to actually try and look at it quite logically. This happened, they said this happened, that happened, gives you a much clearer idea of what to do. My favourite one is putting their name on a piece of loo paper and using it for the purpose for which it was intended. Flipping and away. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely like that. Yeah, exactly. But you've also got a different aspect as well, where if you feel that you're being a little bit, and I don't mean this unkindly, but if you're feeling a bit mousy, and you're almost by being a sort of a shy and meek person, that then gives the bully the kind of almost the go ahead to pick on you. Do you know what I mean? So there's also ways that you can kind of plump yourself up and give yourself confidence, and you can do that magically as well. I mean, that's a huge topic to go into, but you can do things like that. And I was talking earlier about glamours. We were talking about makeup, weren't we, Heather?
We were, yes.
And I was talking about a trowel and polyfill, like you do. And Heather's comment was something along the lines of, "Oh, you don't need it," and my comment was, "Oh, the glamour's working then." And that's, there is a lot to be said for that today. I was out early this morning, and I put some slap on before I went off out, and I took a bit of time to do it, and I felt, in the words of the song, I'm feeling good, and I did, and I felt 2 inches taller, because I felt more confident, because I knew that I looked quite good. So I was, there's that to be said about it as well. So, there's that way of coming at problems from your inner self, as well as tackling the problem, that one of the knee-jerk reactions for a situation like that is to slap a hex on them or a binding spell and things like that. But there's so many other different ways that you can do it that aren't quite so negative. I had a person that was causing me a lot of problems years ago, years and years ago. Children were really small. And without going into any details, this problem was getting worse and worse and worse. And I needed it to stop. I needed this person to stop doing what she was doing. Police ended up getting involved as well. And it was just horrible. And I thought, why is she being like this? She's clearly not happy, which is why she's giving me grief. So I ended up doing it was very ornate spell, is the best way of putting it. And I did it over several days. And it was a kind of go and find happiness spell, emphasis on the go. She was living with me at the time. And again, not to put too fine a point on it, she moved away out of my house, and she moved to the pub a few hundred yards up the road. She then moved a few miles away. She then moved up north, and from there she moved to New Zealand. And she has the best job. She has her dream job, and she's her happy as she could possibly be. And that happened, moving out of my house and moving to New Zealand was about 14 months.
Yeah.
So, and she's happy. She's not giving anybody any problems at any point in time,
That's the outcome, isn't it? If you
perfect outcome, and that's what you
have to lose.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation. And as I say, yes, I could have slapped a hex on her. Yes, I could have done all sorts of binding spells and stuff. But negativity breeds negativity, and I'm not a particularly negative person. And it kind of comes round to bite you in the bum eventually. That negativity it's not. I was going to say it's not healthy, but it's just not nice actually. And if you've got the choice of law, so there are ways of doing that kind of thing too, where you can you can put it on the other person. And in that case, obviously I did put it on them because I didn't feel that I was doing anything different to normal, and I didn't have any way that I could change what I was doing. But she needed to change. So something along those lines works a treat too.
But as you were talking about the confidence, and a lot of this comes about because you've got somebody doing the bullying, and they're usually, I know it's an old cliche, but they're usually about as insecure as you can get. Yeah. And then they see somebody who gives off the vibes of being even more insecure, and then they think, right, I can be powerful, because it's about power. Yeah. So it usually comes from somebody who's got stuff going on themselves, and that it makes them feel better to do it. That's the payoff. Yeah. So you either have to make sure it doesn't feel better for them to do it by not responding in the way that they're expecting, and that's very hard to do, but it can work. Or as you say, as well as on a magical level, so you're doing practical and magical, because the two work best together, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do.
It's to do the magical stuff that goes, go and be happy doing it, talking, be somewhere else, be a better person. Don't be doing this, because they do know what they're doing to some level.
Yeah, they do. Sometimes they don't realise the extent of the hurt that they cause.
True.
It might be a bit of fun to them, but they don't realise the pure hurt and grief that actually then creates. They don't realise that. But either way, it has to stop. And of course, the other thing, which is, from a legal point of view, is that it's not legal. Bullying in the workplace isn't a legal thing. And obviously going to see somebody higher up in your workplace is something that should happen as well.
And that's where having the detailed itemized what happened and when, rather than I'm being bullied, because there's not much they can say to go with the evidence of, on this day I was doing this happened, this was said. Exactly. You have to be able to stand back in order to be able to put something like that together as well.
You know what they call that? A multifaceted approach.
Indeed. on all sides and from all angles, definitely.
But yes, I mean, it is one of those things. Most definitely you can do with anything in any life, really, can't you, with some magic? But obviously the practicalities have to come in as well, Because like you say, you go and see somebody in the office or you talk to somebody and they say, you know, well, what's been happening? You can't reel anything off because you've been so stressed about it. You can't remember it, or you can't remember the incidents and the words and things like that. But if you've written it down, you can refer to it.
Yeah, because people tend to remember the feeling rather than the fact of what happened. So it's been able to step back enough to go, okay, I'm going to build some evidence here. I'm going to treat this as a legal mission and really, really get to grips with it. And then you can change it. But it's not easy.
It's horrible though, isn't it? And I don't know why people really feel that. But like you say, they've got their own insecurities going on too.
Oh,
and it's you've got that whole Ronnie Barker thing, haven't you, going on? I look down on you and look up to him.
Yeah, I had a massive problem with it at a time when I was very vulnerable, when I was ill, and I was actually having chemotherapy at the time.
Really?
So I wasn't physically strong enough to fight it. I wasn't my normal feisty self. And by God, what was so bad is that not only was this particular person my immediate superior who was bullying me, she was female, which was worse because somehow that just seemed awful.
Yeah.
Actually, her boss, who I trusted, was in cahoots with her.
Really?
Got rid of me. Yeah, they both run a quite successful advertising agency now. I won't mention any names, but basically they were having it off together anyway. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So, I was on a loser from the get-go. In fact, what happened was I did leave on my own terms, but I did leave because ultimately I couldn't change that, and I wasn't sort of up in witchcraft at the time. I wasn't aware that I could work on that level.
Yeah.
But it really knocked my confidence for a very long time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But there again, you see, that's what encouraged me to go and have hypnotherapy and become a hypnotherapist, which was part of my path toward where I am now. So I can't really say it was all bad, because there was part of it that was actually bloody useful. I might not have done it otherwise.
That's right. Yeah. It's funny. It's that whole silver lining in every cloud, isn't it?
True. It's very true.
My Nana used to say, one door closes, another one opens. And it's true. It does happen that way. And you sort of think, wow, you know, you're sort of shut in a corridor with nothing. And then suddenly you see a chink of light through a door and you think, well, actually, what's in there? And off you go and something different happens. It's just remarkable, really, isn't it?
It's being able to see that there are always options. It's neither all this or all that. That's catastrophic thinking that comes about from emotional overwhelm. What you then see is it's not all this or all this. In fact, there are many opportunities and options in there, but you can't see them unless you can stand back and take a breath.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, good advice, that. Thank you. So I hope the lady that asked last week will get to see that at some point, and anyone that was listening. And hello, Cheryl. Hi, Jewelry Sales. Hi, Rowan. So anyone that got that, hopefully that will be helpful if anyone else is having any difficult times. But it's just that overwhelmed feeling of, I can't deal with this, and then that grudge of going to work because you know that there's going to be trouble. It's difficult, but as you say, I think stepping back from it is very much a way forward, isn't it? Definitely. And of course, you've got the breathing space, hopefully, with shoving them in the freezer for a little while, while you can breathe and think.
A little respite.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the questions that we had. Another question that came up last week was that, again, I've forgotten who it was that said, I do apologise, but she said she absolutely loves being out in nature and she loves her candles, but it sparks off really terrible headaches. Now, my reply to that was, is it the nature that sparks the headaches, or is it the candles and so on that spark the headaches? But there wasn't really a sort of an answer for that. So I suppose there could be all sorts of things that sparking the terrible headaches. Any thoughts?
And again, on a very practical level, quite often it's tension.
Yeah.
You know, physical tension up in the neck and stress will cause a lot of headaches. But you can get them if you react badly. If a candle has a certain essential oil in it, some people find lavender, which everyone says, oh, it makes you sleep. Some people absolutely can't bear it. and some of these things that people think, oh, I'll just put some essential oils in my bath or do this, that they're quite powerful. And if you're a bit sensitive, as I am, I have to be very careful with essential oils. I was going to train. Once upon a time, I trained as a massage therapist. There we go. How many hot dinners careers have I had? And when I done that, I wanted to learn about aromatherapy because I love scent and perfume. I'm a real kind of perfume head. And I started to study with some quite famous people, but I literally had to be peeled off the ceiling because this stuff it's on your hands. And for me, that's the most sensitive, one of the most sensitive places. I literally could not, nope. Couldn't do it. Couldn't have all these things on my hands and not be blown away by them myself. So that shut that little door for me. But it was interesting to do it, and it's also interesting to realise people think it's natural, therefore it must be good. Well, it might be
it's natural. It must be good for you. But to be honest with you, belladonna, deadly nightshade, that's natural, and that's not that great.
There's lots of things that are quite bad for you that are natural. So there is that. It could be something in the candle itself or scent. It's fairly unlikely that nature's going to be the thing that gives you the headache, unless there's a specific type of tree or plant or something you're engaging with.
Again, it might be some kind of allergy. If she's got a particular area of woodland that she tends to go to, and there's certain trees that she's got an allergy to, then maybe it's the headaches there. I mean, obviously you've got the practical things like having sufficient fluid and enough water and all that kind of stuff too. But I think it's the association of nature and the great outdoors, coupled with candles, seem to be the things that's triggering it. So it's a bit of a strange one. I've not really come across that as a specific before.
Yeah, without knowing more detail.
Yeah, it's the detail. It's the detail that's lacking, really. So if you get to see this person that asked that, if you give us some more details, then perhaps we can have a look a bit further into that, because that's an interesting concept. But without the details, it's difficult to analyse it and say. It's a tricky one.
Well, people do have emotional responses to scent. It's hardwired into the very deepest parts of our brains, which is why you can smell something that will transport you to another time, place. I mean, it's magical. We use incense a lot in our magical work because it has that ability. And what you put into it will affect the kind of experience you have and the kind of atmosphere, if you like, magically.
It does.
But again, we all react to them slightly differently. So
but you do. I mean, you think about, when they sort of said about, I suppose it was in the 80s and the 90s when there was a big house boom. A way to sell the house was to get some bread baking and that kind of stuff, wasn't it? It is. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I've sold enough houses.
But it was sort of the whole baking bread, and it feels like a homely smell. You walk home and it feels like you've just come into your home because you've smelt the bread and you associate bread and home and that kind of stuff. And they say that the supermarkets pipe the smell of bread around the supermarkets, where if they've got a home bakery in the supermarkets, they've got various ducting, haven't they, that they pipe the smell of the bread, the baking bread, around the store. Bit sneaky.
But that's how people get manipulated by scent, because it bypasses all the rational thinking. It literally transports you somewhere else.
It does. Yeah. It's amazing stuff, though. But it's interesting, though, isn't it? How you do use and associate different scents with different things and so on. And it's every now and again you'll just go somewhere and you're instantly transported to your grandma's house when you were about 7, things like that, and it'll be a certain musty smell, for example, or a smell of a certain flower, or even a certain washing powder, or whatever it might be, but you just suddenly you get that memory, don't you? It just triggers it.
It's what perfumes are based on. The whole psychology of a perfume is based on that. Some people go, lily of the valley, that smells of old ladies. It's like, well, it doesn't. It smells of lily of the valley, which is a perfectly legitimate scent of a plant. But because people wore very floral scents back in the whenever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
So
in the day.
back in the day, or
Yeah.
you've only got to smell that opium perfume, you know, or poison, that
Oh,
really
God,
heady,
yeah.
hazy, unmistakable
My
waft.
mum hated that. My mum
Mm,
absolutely hated that, and she was very vocal about how much she hated it,
mm.
even if the person happened to be in the room. Very embarrassing.
That's a little unwise. My sister used to practically drown herself in opium, the
Yeah.
perfume opium, obviously not
Well,
decent, but it was quite a distinctive. And the problem is, if you wear a very heady perfume like that, you cease to be able to smell it, but
yeah.
everybody else still can.
Everybody else can smell it because it's got a half-life of 4,000 years. Yeah.
Somewhere
Do you know what? The biggest mistake perfume-wise I ever made was on New Year's Eve, and it would have been around about 1987, 86, that kind of time, mid-80s anyway. And it was New Year's Eve, gone to my friend's house, getting ready for a night at the pub, and I'd forgotten my perfume. Oh, she said, have some Anay, which smelled amazing on her. And she squirted it at me. And what I didn't know prior to the being squirted was that it would react with me and smell like cat's pee. Did I wash this bloody stuff off? No. I stank all evening.
Yeah. People love it as well.
Being self-conscious. God.
It's one of those scents that people still have a real fond attachment for, and it's not one I ever wore.
No.
A friend of mine used to wear Lulu, and it's like every time I smell it, even on, I mean, not many people wear it now, but I still think of her. She doesn't wear it now, but it's kind of, it was so, my friend Venetia, you see the bottle, Venetia.
The blue one, yeah.
The top. Yeah.
Anyway, if anyone ever wants to buy me an A&A, don't.
No. Not if you value your nose.
I might have 4 cats, but I don't want to smell like I have more.
Not like a little tray, eh?
No, not good. No.
Oh dear. Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. And everyone that came in the pub, you could sort of see them just stop for that split second and go,
Do that cat thing.
it's awful. It's like,
Has there been a Tom in here?
just awful. It really was. It was so embarrassing. I don't think I stayed much past midnight. And I didn't get very many kisses and hugs either.
I think I know what went wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, how disappointing.
Oh dear, not doing that again. No. Oh God. Oh yes. So if anybody's got any questions of you lovely people that are here, we've got lots of people in. So if anybody's got any questions for us, fire away. We're always happy to help or happy to have a chat about it. What have we got here? I wore Red Charlie from being 14 till 2 years ago, and I finally grew up.
Laney's never growing up. Laney permanent hit is the best thing ever. I said Laney hasn't grown up. No, don't grow up, Laney. You're too much fun.
No, it's overrated, definitely. Definitely overrated. I'm not planning on doing it anytime soon, I must say.
No.
Yeah. Oh dear. I've got various cats lurking around. They kind of look at me scathingly because there's only half a bowl full of food. And I'm not eating until there's no bowl full of food. So, yeah, they sort of come in and glare at me and then they kind of wander off again.
Because it doesn't work.
No. Yeah. It's a shame.
So we're on a waning moon at the moment.
Yes.
And obviously that is usually the time when if you want something to lessen, go away, decrease and cease and desist, it's normally a very good time for doing such things. Yeah,
perfect timing actually for doing that. Yeah, for the lady that we were talking about before.
Yes.
You know, with the bullying, that's perfect timing too, isn't it, for her? So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Tell you what I did see, actually, thanks to the courtesy of Tina today. Tina, hello. And apparently on the 21st of this month.
Just about to say the same. Yeah.
We've got two planets getting very, very close together in the night sky, closest that they will have been for about 800 years. Commonly known as, it does it about every 20 years or so, but it's the closest together that they've been for about 800 years. So it's 1253 or something, the last time they were so close. And it's Venus and Jupiter, I think it is.
Saturn.
Tina, can you confirm that, Tina? I think it's Tina and Jupiter and Venus. But yeah, so they're calling it the Christmas star, you know, because it's going to be that super bright thing. They're so close it'll look like one. So
yeah, behind the other. They're obviously not actually very close. They're millions of miles apart, probably. But
yeah, but in alignment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's Saturn and Jupiter, but I'm not exactly sure. I thought I overheard someone say I'm not a knowledge on this.
No, I read it earlier, but I was interested because I thought, oh, that's nice, timing wise. We've been quite lucky with timings this year because obviously we had the full moon on Samhain, didn't we? On Halloween, we had that, and now we've got this on Yule, so that's rather nice.
Special magic.
Saturn and Jupiter. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, I've got such a poor memory; it drives me nuts.
Exactly, because I heard someone saying it hours ago.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, Saturn and Jupiter. There we go. Right, we've got some questions. What we got here? What's this one? So, is there something you do daily or we could do daily to make sure you and your family are safe and well? God, yeah, loads actually. Especially if you're the family cook. If you cook evening meals for the rest of the family, then yes, you can imbue your dinners with some positive energy and some positive magic and all sorts of things like that. I always do, and I only cook for me now. Used to cook for the 5,000 before. It's only me left now. And yeah, very much so. So I'll add a certain number of ingredients for things. There'll be certain number of times that I'll grind the pepper mill. So I like numerology, things like that. So I'll have a certain number. I like prime numbers. I'm really keen on prime numbers. No idea why. I just like them. So it's always 31 grinds on the pepper mill, 31 stirs of my tea bag or other people's tea bag for that matter. When I'm making them a cup of tea, I always stir positivity into food that if I'm making a sauce or if I'm stirring pasta after I put it in boiling water, then I'll stir it clockwise. I'll stir my tea and coffee clockwise to bring positivity in. If rubbish is happening that particular day or likely to be happening that particular day, then I'll stir it anti-clockwise to dispel the negativity. You know, and I'll use the number 3, so I might put 3 bay leaves in things. And as I add, I'm vegan, so as I add, you know, sort of various lentils or pulses and things, I tell them what they're in there for to bring me abundance and things like that. So yeah, you can do. So you've got the whole using herbs for protecting your family. You've got rosemary and sage, of course, you know, nice and easy. Also basil, you know, good for protection and so on. But yeah, you know, even if you're not using them, the number of pinches, like 3 pinches of salt in your food, you know, the magic of 3, stirring clockwise and so on and so forth, things like that. So yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do in that way, and it's really mundane stuff, but it's absolutely protecting your family if you do it mindfully. And that's the thing, it's all about the intention, isn't it? Yeah, it's the intention. It's like, I am putting in, you know, 3 pinches of salt to get rid of this negativity, to get rid of any bad stuff that might be happening to them, you know, to bring about positivity. I'm putting in 3 bay leaves into my curry, whatever it might be. So yeah, absolutely. What would you do, Heather?
I find things like I'm not a housework fan, can you tell? But if I'm going to be doing something like hoovering or, you know, something that involves cleaning and clearing, I think I'm clearing the space. It's that intention of making a nice environment, of clearing away negativity, getting rid of dust. I mean, I do, admittedly, I do apologise to spiders if I've made them homeless accidentally.
Yeah.
because that will happen sometimes. Like, oh, that was a cobweb.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
But yeah, it is, as you've said, it's that mindfulness. You know, even when I'm out buying things in charity shops, I'm thinking, I want to buy something that someone else is going to love.
Yeah.
So even when I'm packing up my little parcels and I've got a whole bag, well, not a whole, I have a bag full of them ready to post tomorrow. I pack them up, sort of, kind of going, oh right, you're going to your forever home now. Partly because I don't have to return, has to be said, but annoying. But partly because I'm trying to sort of put good wishes in with it. You know, I kind of do that just because it's so nice that that's going. And it always happens that it'll be something I've seen while I'm going through my stock, or I go, oh, that hasn't sold yet. I come back and, oh, yes, it has. It's what you pay attention to, you get more of. That's a very common magical thing. So paying attention to, you know, the people around you, you know, it can be very day to day and very mundane. You kind of may find yourself not noticing so much, but trying to notice the little things. You know, do they seem okay? Are they a bit down, a bit up? You know, does this time of year, and as we plummet to the very darkest, this really is a difficult time for a lot of people. That descent into the dark, and it speeds up as you get nearer the solstice. So you can see that people struggle to get up in the morning, to take care of themselves, to eat, to nourish themselves. So, you know, if you nourish and look after yourself, you're naturally going to be in a better position to do that for others too. So there is that element, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I mean, you've got various charms and mojos and amulets and things. You know, if you want to go to the trouble of making things like that too, there's always them.
I love that. It's time.
I mean,
it doesn't always fit in with what I'm doing at the time. That's the problem I have.
Exactly. But, you know, with a busy family life, you know, you don't always have that hour to sit down and make yourself a witch ball or an amulet or a talisman or whatever you might want to make, a mojo bag or something. You just don't always have the time to do that, or a pocket or whatever you might want to do. You just don't have the time. You know, yes, you can, you know, sort of tie a bundle of herbs together and hang them up on your car. You can do that. But again, it's all about the mindfulness. You might just as well use those herbs in some cooking, and then everybody gets a little bit of that, you know. So, yeah, definitely. There's so much that you can do. There really is. So, yeah. So, what else have we got? Now, I saw another question here. What's this one? In a moment. What have I got?
You won't be alone there. That's a universal question.
I can't even see it because it says new comments. That's not really helpful.
Yeah, that's Lainey asking, what do we do to improve motivation?
Oh,
that's an age old to do, and don't do them.
Right, come on then. What would you do to improve motivation? I keep thinking I do all these things and I seem to just not do them. Yeah.
Tricky one, isn't it, really? I think the thing is not to come up with such a massive to-do list that you take one look at it and go, holy crap, I'm not even starting there. Because that again will make you feel overwhelmed. And usually if there's too much going on, the natural response is do nothing. It's kind of that analysis paralysis where you've overthought something so much or analysed it so much that nothing happens. My thing, if I feel myself getting a little bit like that, is say do something different for a little while, guilt-free, and then do one thing, just one thing. And that usually will start the ball rolling. You do one thing, you're like, oh, well, actually, while I'm here, I could do, you know, something else will follow on.
Yeah.
So it's not to be hard on yourself. I mean, the minute you start beating yourself up, you've kind of lost the battle, because that's really not where you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard though. And then one of the things, like you said, one of the things can be deciding which one thing to do. So that act of walking away and thinking, well, actually, I'm going to go and make a cup of tea and think about it. That is a good way of doing something different. You know, while the kettle's boiling, decide what you want to do. Wash your hands. You know, wash your hands. Wash that negativity away, and you know, wait for something new to come. While you're washing your hands, you think, actually, I could do this, or that will only take 5 minutes. I'll do that first. It gets it out of the way. If you've got a to-do list of 50 things, and one of them is only 5 minutes or 2 minutes, do that one, because as you said, it will get the ball rolling, won't it?
Yeah, and priorities as well. There are some things that can wait, And there are some things that absolutely have to be done. So it's kind of a case of, if it's absolutely got to be done, do that first.
Yeah.
Do the other stuff, and then you still have that big thing hanging over you. It is difficult, but again, it's that thing of stepping back a little bit and being kind enough to yourself to go, it's okay if I don't do all of this, it doesn't matter. But I'd like to feel some movement and some flow, therefore something needs to happen. So what little thing can we just push?
Yeah. I used to, I don't anymore, but I used to read the decluttering blogs. Don't laugh.
Gosh, yes. We all read them.
So I used to read the decluttering blogs, and they would sort of say, you know, just start with 5 minutes, or start with one drawer or one shelf, or, you know, or 5 books on a shelf or something like that. It's just starting small. And then, like you say, you sort of think, well, I'll just do one shelf, and then you look at the next shelf and you think, well, actually that's not too bad, I'll do that while I'm at it. So yeah, but it does depend on what is on your to-do list as to how you can try and break it down, I suppose, doesn't it?
And what's practical as well, you know, if you've only got a slot of half an hour to do something, and don't start something that you know you're going to be left with a horrible mess, and the worst when you started off in, because there's no point.
Exactly. Yeah, that's even worse then, because then you've got everything out. Haven't you?
Well, we've all done it, and it's like, oh God, now I just think I have to shove it all back in so I can go to bed at night.
Exactly. Yeah. This is Maisie McClue. She's also called Pigloo because, as you can see,
she's rather round.
She's white like an igloo. She's also very fat like a pig. So she's really Maisie McMew, but she very seldom gets that noise, that word, do you? But she has her own theme tune. All my cats have a theme tune. Do your cats have theme tunes?
No, I don't think they do.
That's very remiss.
I've missed a trick here somewhere.
Why do they not have their theme tunes? You need to make them up. That needs to be. I'm going to tell Max that he's not got his own theme tune.
He'll probably write it for you.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
No, they've all got their own theme tunes, my cats. And much to my horror, I sing them when my kids are around. They hate it.
Oh, Rowan's popped in here with some very useful information.
All right, let's have a look here and see what we've got.
His comment at 8:47. NOOD. Let's start.
Right, what we got here?
I'm interested to know what I've got a feeling I know what that is, but I'm not entirely sure. NROOGD. So I don't know what that stands for. I mean, it could be to do with Gardnerian, quite possibly, but I don't know. In Berkeley, California, got a nice chant in the ritual: Avante, Avante, Maleficum Defense, Oniswaki Malipons. Love it. That's really, and there's a little tune too, and it's good to do while sweeping. And sweeping, obviously, symbolically, is an excellent thing. I've not heard this, so.
No, I haven't heard this.
I really hadn't heard that one. You know, sort of, go away, go away. Cleanse. It's a cleansing one. It's probably a little bit like away sweep I, you know, one of those.
Yeah, that's rather nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Avante, Maleficum Defense. Honest fucking Maleficons. Nice.
Like it, yes. And it's the intention, isn't it, Rowan? It definitely
Yeah.
And Lainey said about the not doing things. She said she's not being too hard on herself. She has a list of things, tried to just take 3 from the list and do them, but still didn't work. So maybe I'll try 1. Yeah, 1's a good place.
Yeah, 1's a good place to start, because if you move on to 2, then so be it. If you stick at 1, you've done 1. Yeah, you know, it's all good. All good. What else have we got here? Yeah. So, Rowan, did you make up the tune as well? Like me and my cats, really. Did you make up the tune? Or is it one that you used for something else, I wonder?
There may be a tradition where that's what they use to clear space ready for magical working, quite possibly. There seem to be very many varieties, and some seem to be in common across the world, and others are sort of very diverse. Oh,
Yeah.
now that's interesting. New Reformed Order of the Golden Dawn. Golden Dawn. That's what GD stands for.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting. I know nothing about that tradition. That sounds very interesting. It's a hippie Berkeley trad tradition, which began.
No, I don't know. I don't know anything. Original, some of the original Golden Dawn, way back from the 1910s and 1920s. I know some of the historical stuff about that, but I don't know any of the traditions for kind of the spin-offs from that at all.
It's kind of like people make their own traditions, don't they? Each little sort of branch and lineage almost, kind of develop their own traditions as they go along. Because you know, if you count sort of Wicca as a religion per se, it's so varied. And when you do get witches get together and they all work together in a very big group, as occasionally happens around the world, there are glorious differences, although the intention is very much the same, which is what unites everybody and connects them. But the words and the way something is done, sometimes even the order things are done in, or the colours associated, or the way people garb themselves or not, is individual.
So Rowan's saying it's nothing to do with the Golden Dawn, so it must have been, obviously it's sparked from there. I imagine it's sparked from there, and now it's branched off into its own little set. I'm guessing.
I'll have to look it up. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, because here in the UK, we're sort of very much kind of clued into the vast variety we have here, but around the world, of course, it's incredibly varied, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like a tune, Rowan? That's the thing.
I like the tune.
It lends such power to things, doesn't it? If you and it helps it become more memorable. It's much easier to remember something when there's a tune that, because I think music is very much like sense and stuff. I think it's a very deep, resonant thing in us, and I think energy, the sound is energy.
Yeah. I mean, you've only got to listen to a record on the radio, and it can transport you back 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, can't it? And you suddenly think, and you remember being at a certain place with a certain person, and it's amazing. And of course, it reminds you of different family members or friends or whatever, and it's just that instant connection, isn't it? It's just brilliant.
Yeah, you don't have to consciously think of it. It's just there because it comes from a much longer term memory, a much deeper part of the brain. It's and it's magical from the magical part of the brain, I suppose. That's why.
Yeah. I love that, actually. And you suddenly, you'll be sort of sitting in the car, and then suddenly you hear something from yesteryear, and you're like, wow, God, I remember this, and I haven't heard it for donkey's years, and I just love that.
Yeah, so you were the words to something that you didn't even know you knew. It's like, okay, I obviously remember that one.
Can't remember what I needed in the supermarket, but I can remember all of the words for that from 1984. Yeah.
Particularly from 1984, I think in my case. It was a good year.
But as I say, you get me in a supermarket now. What did I come in for?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to find black olives.
Yes.
For some reason they're very scarce.
Number of times I've been into the supermarket and come out without them, and I've specifically gone in for them and come out with 50 other things and not come out with the thing I've gone in for. And often it's that. I think I'm only going to buy them today, not going to buy anything else. They talk. Never fails. Yeah. Oh, God. The joys are getting a bit older, eh?
Yes. Just a bit. We have a
new person, intelligence on me. Hello. It's a Miss Lots, but you better catch up.
You can watch that.
It'll be.
Yeah, so, we won't be in the corner. You're right.
Yeah, yes, definitely. No naughty corner for us.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Have you made any plans for Yule yet? Apart from coming to see me.
Well, it's one of these odd things where we are seeing one little bit of the family briefly on Boxing Day, but I'm not going to go around and see lots of people because I'm fully aware that nothing actually particularly changes over that time. So I'm being as careful as I always am. But I've got the delights over Yule of sorting out my tax, because that's when I do my tax. So that's lovely. Yeah, a couple of days.
I've got to work all over Christmas this year, which would be quite interesting. So, but if there are going to be any family arguments, at least I can go to work.
Yes, you can always use the excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry, I've got to go to work now. So, yeah, mind you, if you're right in the middle of watching a film or having a bit of fun and playing a game or something, and then suddenly, I've got to go to work, it's not quite so much fun, but it's one of those things. It's not till the evening, so that's not so bad. So, yeah. But, yeah, so that'd be a bit different.
Yes, it will. Well, it looks like Rowan's organisation, they just chose that name to be to give it a bit of a feel, I think. It's a contentious name. He said it's a simple circle ritual on the Gardnerian format. It's an aspect of Wicca, the Gardnerian tradition, which I've heard of. Second degrees only. That's people who've been in witches for quite a while. Usually, skyclad, which is naked. They won't be doing that at Yule. It'll be too bloody cold. Mind you, they're in California. You see, it's probably warmer.
I guess it's a bit warmer there than it is in deepest, darkest Surrey and Kent.
Exactly. All the big public rituals are put on by the group. So yeah, are they sort of like the big open rituals, the ones that are for everybody, a bit like our pagan fed. They do big open rituals, don't they? There's lots of things that people can join in on. 100, 200 outdoor rituals. Well, that's quite a number. That can be like herding cats, can't it?
I've done rituals for 300 people before, and it's a bloody nightmare. Yeah, it really is. It's hard work. Really hard work.
That's a lot. It's nice work. It is nice when you've got that many people, but the thing is, the energy can be just so different because people have got their own agendas and they bring their own stuff. Whereas when you work in a very small group with people, there's much more discipline and much more focus on what's to be done. It's nice to go to a very big ritual, but I find the smaller ones are much more powerful.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Yes, it is quite nice. But like you say, getting everybody in the right mindset to be there isn't that easy, is it? It's because especially if it's different if you've been together for some time, like when we've been away. You've been together some time and you're kind of in tune with each other, and then you do a big ritual, and that's not too bad. But if everyone sort of arrived and the bus was a bit late, or you got stuck in a bit of traffic, or you couldn't find a parking space, or you forgot to bring your sandwiches and your tea's got spilt, and it's just all those things, and you're still thinking about them when you go in, and it's difficult to let that go sometimes and concentrate.
You have to put it to one side, and some people find that easier to do than others. And they get very sociable, those big things, because people haven't seen each other for a long time, and you end up with all the chatter that has to be done before you can focus. Oh, I see. No, it's very interesting, Rowan. Says there are 2 different degrees, initiates and the more advanced, so that that's how they do it. A little different to here. And the big rituals are big celebrations because obviously they're open and they're going to be much more. I mean, I love a big celebration. I think we've all missed some of those this year. Just slightly,
Well, there's normally so many around certainly around England, isn't there? There's lots and lots. I mean, around the world, yes, but even in the south where we are, there's normally lots and lots, and there's just been nothing at all, really, has there? Like, a couple of picnics in the park here and there, and that's about it, really.
2 meters apart, kind of waving at something over the other.
The wave and offer an elbow, don't you?
Elbow business is really odd. I'm just like, no, I'll just wave. It's okay. Let's not clank elbows because that could hurt.
It's a bit strange, really, isn't it? But hopefully things will start picking up again in the new year, and we'll be able to get back to these lovely big rituals and things, and the bigger ones and the bigger gatherings and stuff. That'll be nice.
Yeah, well, especially things that can be outdoors, and and more people get vaccinated. Hopefully, things will settle down a bit. It's going to be a long while, I know.
Yeah,
But there is the hope. Yeah, it's yeah, we've got a way to go. That's the thing. Just have to hang in there.
Yeah, I just have to keep watching Us, Heather.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll tell you what I saw today that I didn't realise before, and that's that Lucia has got her own channel. Did you know she's got her own channel? Lucia Starzer.
Oh, I didn't know that she actually had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, she has, and I didn't realise that. So anybody that's interested in witchcraft and people that write books, our very, very dear friend Lucia Starzer, she has her own YouTube channel, and she reads some. She's got a few poems on there, and she's got a few extracts of her own books that she reads on there too. And she runs a blog called Bad Witch, which is really very good. It's brilliant. She's done that for donkey's years.
Published author
so
too.
yeah, but she also has a YouTube channel. She's got a new book coming out on Friday. But she's got a book launch, and of course normally she'd have the book launch in Treadwell's or Atlantis or some such, and of course she can't do that this year. She's doing it online, but she's doing it live online, and she's doing it on YouTube at 4 o'clock. So yeah, go and have a look at that. So, and she's lovely. She's a very dear friend of ours, isn't she?
Well,
so
you can put her details down in the.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments.
I can't make a comment because I'm on here, so I can't put anything in the chat. But Lucia Starzer.
Lucia Starzer. So go and check her out. She's lovely, and she does some little spells, and she's got some videos with spells on too. So yeah, go and have a look over there too.
Yeah, she's sense.
Yes, she's very sensible. Yes, very, very sweet. She is funny, isn't she? She's hilarious. She makes me laugh. So we've been wittering on for over an hour. So it's time we said choodle pip, really. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, please. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes, and leave your questions in the comments, and that will give us some food for thought for next week.
Yeah, definitely. Don't be shy to ask. So that's what we're for. So yes, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.